top 10 saddest MMA fighters to step in the ring. Number 10. Tony Halme. Tony was a pro wrestler who was involved in only 3 fights. 3 he lost before stepping into the ring for his UFC debut. It was brutal, and he suffered a terrible defeat. He held his head in shame, and that was the last the MMA saw of Tony Halme. Number 9. Moti Horenstein. Moti was involved with 2 fights in the MMA's UFC, and both times he got beat. Moti was known as the Hebrew Hammer, and many believe he had the potential to be great. However, he was matched against opponents that fought in a style that worked against him. Number 8. Reza Nasri. Reza Nasri was Iran's hope for putting them on the map for MMA, but instead it did the opposite. Nasri's one and only fight lasted 30 seconds. He never landed a punch. His opponent threw Nasri onto his back, and Nasri just laid there. Nasri didn't fight back, but instead looked like a deer in the headlights. Number 7. Paul Herrara. Paul wasn't a mean guy. There wasn't a mean bone in his body. It could have worked against him in his debut against Gary Goodridge. Herrara only had one move mastered called Fireman's Hold, and so when Goodridge watched Herrara practice, and that's the only move he did, well, Goodridge knew what to do. Herrara's career in the MMA was short. Number 6. Greg Stott. Greg was known as Ranger. He was a former U.S. Army Ranger. Ranger came into his debut cocky and full of himself. He told the media his style of fighting would surpass all others, and after this fight, rip rules and all other styles rest in peace. Ranger's debut lasted 17 seconds before he was drooling on the mat. Number 5. Fred Edish. Edish only entered the UFC ring once. Edish was thrown in as a last-minute replacement and was inexperienced compared to the UFC champ Johnny Rhodes. Edish wasn't invited back to the UFC after his embarrassing debut, which lasted only 3 minutes. Number 4. Tank Abbott. Tank was a controversial character in the MMA. Abbott's fight against John Matua, where he delivered malicious punches, flooring Matua. Matua having a seizure, Abbott punched him again. The ref pulled Abbott away, and he began mocking Matua, who had a near career-ending brain injury. Number 3. Jon Hess. Jon's debut performance against Andy Anderson is considered the dirtiest fight in the MMA. The fight was only 1 minute and 22 seconds, but during that time, Hess pulled some dirty tricks. Hess gouged the eyes of Anderson twice. Hess was fined and responded, "There are no rules, so I broke no rules." Number 2. Art Jimmerson. Art didn't stand a chance against Royce Gracie. Jimmerson was a pro boxer who was talked into entering the MMA fight. Jimmerson wore one boxing glove that night to make sure judges could see him tapping out. The event lasted 2 minutes. It was Jimmerson's first and last event. Number 1. Easily securing the number 1 position for being the worst MMA fighter in history is Joe Son. Joe Son was known for wearing a leopard print thong and wearing wild makeup in the ring, but he is actually more notorious now for being a convicted rapist and murderer. He tortured and raped a woman in 1999, and then when he was sentenced to prison, after DNA testing finally revealed his true identity, he killed his cellmate. Son traded the ring for bars and has no possibility for parole. Time for the question of the day. These days, MMA fighting is one of the most intense, brutal, and bloody sports in the world. If you got paid $1 million to jump in the ring with one of these pitiful fighters, would you do it? Why or why not? Go ahead and leave in the comments section, and as usual, thanks for watching. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and click that subscribe button to see more awesome top 10 clips. We come out with top 10 videos just for you every week. Yes, you. Be sure to give this clip a thumbs up and go ahead and check out one of our other top 10 videos you see on the screen now.